So once again, very good morning and welcome to today's session. The today's webinar is on build projects 10x faster with GitHub Copilot. So before we get started, let's quickly understand why today's session is very much important for all of us. As you know, AI is rapidly changing how modern softwares get built. So today the developers no longer using AI just for searching or asking question. They are interacting AI or they are integrating AI directly into their coding workflow, like not just from writing codes or debugging issues or generating cases. The way developer work is evolving very fast in today's world, which means developer who learn how to work effectively with AI tools will have a significant advantage going forward in their career. So before we get start, let me give a brief intro of our today's speaker. So today we have with us Abhay Padda sir, who is the director of data scientist at Gartner. He had deep experience working across AI, data science, and modern engineering workflows. Today, he'll be sharing practical insights on how developer can use GitHub Copilot effectively to improve productivity and build faster with AI-assisted development workflows. Over to you, sir. And I request all the participants to turn on their camera. It would really help us to make this session more engaging and interacting. And those who have any question, chat box is open. You can ask the question. Also, we have 15-minute slot at the end of the session. You can directly ask question to sir after the webinar ends. In between, if you have any question, you can use the chat box. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Thanks, Dipali, for the introduction. Thank you, everybody, for taking out time to join this session. I'll talk about how you can integrate GitHub, your existing coding practices with the modern day LLM solutions that are available, right? We're going to focus on Copilot in general, and we will see how Copilot is used extensively in reducing the amount of coding that we used to do, say 3-4 years back. So we're going to talk about all of those aspects, building projects 10x faster. So let's talk about the agenda that we're going to cover in today's session, right? We will talk about the role of AI and how the roles of developers are changing, right? We'll talk about how you can set up Copilot on your local machines. We will discuss some ways to write effective prompts. We will do a live demo. We will build a real feature here. We'll cover the debugging, refactoring, or optimizing aspects of GitHub Copilot. And we will also at the end write test cases and complete documentation for the demo that we've done, right? Uh, we will discuss some of the common mistakes that we should not be doing when we are working with LLMs. And the final session, like Dipali said, would be dedicated to Q&A, wherein if you have any questions, any doubts, we can discuss those at the final part of the presentation, right? So this is what is the broad agenda. Uh, Before I start, do you want to bring up that poll, Dipali? The first one that we had?
Yes, sir.
So just to understand, it's a mixed cohort that we've got, right? There are a lot of people from who have not done coding at all, right? But this essentially is for the people who have done coding, right? Who have experience in coding. I want to understand what is your relationship with the current tools that you've got, right? Do you write all the codes by hand? Do you use regex, boilerplate, uh, the Copilot? Do you use it all day? Or you just want to see how exactly things can be done, right? You see a lot of people who are already using Copilot. Anybody who want to come off mute and talk about the expectations that they have from the session?
So anyone who would like to speak can raise their hand. I'll just unmute them.
those who are using Copilot almost on a daily basis? I just want to understand. There are 27 of them. Okay. So I get a sense. I think most of the people here have used Copilot in some way or the other, right? Uh, Majority of you are using it on a day-to-day basis, right? The objective of the session is to introduce GitHub Copilot to everybody who's part of this, right? We're going to cover it from the basics perspective. We're not going to get into uh, uh, creating solution that is end to end, given that we have limited time today. But the objective here is to how you can set up, how you can use it, what are the limitations, what are the effective strategies. So all of these is what we are going to cover in today's session, right? So let's start with the big picture. Let's start with the big picture. The developer role is changing faster than it was at any given point in the history, right? So it's not about getting replaced, it's about understanding what is getting redefined, right? 5 years back, when we talk about developers, a good developer meant, you had to memorize the syntax, you would essentially know all the algorithms, right? And you should know how to debug things line by line. Today, it's more about how you can describe the problem precisely and know how that can be evaluated, right? So it's not just your coding skills, it's all about how well you know what exactly you want to get done and how exactly you want to evaluate if somebody else is doing it for you, how well the things have been done, right? So AI is rewriting the playbook, right? 50%, 55% higher productivity is reported by Copilot users. I see a lot of Copilot users in the audience already, so you would vouch for it, right? So uh, it's 46% faster completion. These are all numbers that are coming from the developers who are using it, and things have changed repeatedly, right? So see, these are not just numbers. Copilot or any AI tool that we use in today's world basically is meant for reducing the friction. A developer who's using Copilot is like a senior engineer with a very fast junior at their side, right? It's not that you are getting replaced. You basically have a better tool that can get the work done for you, right? So you still own the architecture, the logic, the decisions, everything remains with you. The implementation part is something that you can get it done because it's more of a syntax based, which is not necessary in today's world, right? The numbers back this up. GitHub's own research shows 55% higher productivity, 75% feel more fulfilled, not because they think less, but because they type less of the boring stuff and spend more time on what exactly matters, right? The best engineers in 2026 are AI native. They think in systems, write in intent, and let AI handle implementation. So in this session, we are going to show exactly what this looks like, right? So let's talk about what Copilot is, right? We've been talking about AI tools all this while. We are focusing today on GitHub Copilot specifically. So GitHub Copilot is an AI pair programmer, which is built by GitHub. It lives essentially inside your editor and watches what you're writing to suggest what comes next, right? So those who have written code already would, understand what autocomplete is, what auto suggestions are, right? We've seen them in IDEs before, but GitHub Copilot goes you know, a leap ahead, wherein it does not just suggest, it completes everything for you, right? So it's way more than autocomplete. So we'll walk through some of the features that are there in GitHub, right? We'll talk about inline suggestions. We'll talk about Copilot chat. We'll talk about the agent mode. We'll talk about GitHub Copilot CLI, code review. So all of these steps are something that we are going to talk about, right? So GitHub Copilot works in VS Code, JetBrains, NeoVim, and also directly on github.com. So it gets integrated with all of these, and it is fairly easy to get this thing done, right? So we are going to use the VS Code versions of it. For those of you who don't understand what essentially VS Code, JetBrains, NeoVim are, they are basically called IDEs, right? Integrated Development Environment, essentially where you write the code, right? So where you write and execute the code, that is known as an IDE, and it works with these three, right? GitHub.com is a website which is essentially owned by Microsoft, and it basically is used for hosting all of your code bases, right? It's a repository of code, and GitHub Copilot works on top of this as well on the website, right? So we're going to talk about all of these things, and we will be focusing specifically on VS Code. So very importantly, how do you set it up? How do you set it up for success? I see some questions coming up. I see it from Mohammed Zain. So, Mohammed, I request everybody to please use the chatbot which is public. Don't use private chatbot, right? It will become difficult for me also to manage it. And also others will not get to know what exactly the question is. So let's use the public chatbot, and I'll answer the questions after I, finish the setup and other part, right? So please feel free to paste it on the public chat. Okay. So how do you make it run? First and foremost, let's talk about where exactly you can download the VS Code, right? So I'll share this link with you. For those of you who have not done this, right? You can download the VS Code from this website, depending on what is your operating system, right? You download it for Mac, Linux, or Windows, and make sure you have access to this, right? Now, next, after you've downloaded it, we will then be installing the Copilot extensions in the VS Code extensions marketplace, and we will sign in using our GitHub account, right? And then we will test few of the things in this, right? So I have VS Code already installed on my machine, right? So this is how the VS Code looks like, right? And this is what is the chat version. But for those of you who don't see the chat after you've installed it, go to extensions, search for GitHub Copilot, click on this and install. You would see a option to install it. Just install it from here, right? So install it, and you will see a similar chatbot, a chat box coming in here on the right hand side, right? So this is how you install it. Now, after you've done this, let's create a simple notebook and just see. Uh, Let me create a new file, say test.py. I'll create it here. So I've created a file here, right? Now, let's see how exactly you can use it, right? So let me just type a function, say, type a comment, key, function to find whether a number is even or odd, right? Now, you see, I start getting the code suggestions directly from GitHub Copilot. If you're not getting it, just press Control I and you will start getting those suggestions, right? So if you do it, right? Just press tab and it will generate it for us, right? Now I want to test it, so I can test it directly by calling this. So this is called inline completion, right? This is called inline completion. I am completing things using the GitHub code itself. It's the Copilot who's doing it for me. See, I just wrote a line of comment and other things. Copilot did it for me, right? Now, whenever I install Copilot, very important for those of you who are doing it for the first time, whenever you install it, you will have to log into GitHub, right? So what is GitHub? GitHub is essentially a website that is used for storing your repo. So if you are coming in for the first time, just sign up. It is free of cost. You don't need to pay anything. Just log into GitHub and you will start seeing the option here, right? You will see it here. Now, very important. This is not the application that we are coding. We just want to see how exactly the setup is done and if things are working fine or not. See, it wrote the function for me. So Copilot is working fine for me, right? Before I jump on to other things, let me talk about the pricing part of it, right? So GitHub Copilot basically comes in 3 tiers: free tier, pro tier, and pro plus. As of now, pro and pro plus are unavailable. So you can only use the free tier for it. So we will be using free tier where we get 50 agent mode and 2000 completions per month. So the one that we did as an example was a completion, right? So this was a completion. And if I write something here, that would be a agent code, right? So I can do either an agent code or a completion using my GitHub Copilot. Now, how do I check whether I've reached 50 or whether I've completed 2000? Just go to an icon here and you see the limits that you have, right? So I've used 6% of inline suggestion and 32% of chat messages. So out of 50, 32% are gone. Roughly 16 I've used, right? And inline suggestion out of 2000, 6% I've used, right? So this is how you can track your usage, right? So this is around the setting up of GitHub. We can receive recoding version. What exactly is recoding version, Tejal? Tejal? You want to receive the recording is what you're saying? Okay. I think Dipali should be able to answer this. I'm not sure how exactly would that be shared.
Just after the session, we'll share the recordings and the relevant resources with you over the mail as well as in the channel, WhatsApp channel.
Perfect. Perfect. So that answers your question. So that's around the setup part, right? We have set up, we saw how exactly the pricing works, right? How exactly you can log into it, how exactly you can start working with it, right? So Vraj, Claude is another AI tool that can be used. It's called Claude Code, right? It can be used with IDEs as well. We are focusing today on just GitHub Copilot, but Claude is another one, right? I don't want to take so many names that it confuses a lot of people who are hearing it for the first time. So these are all different tools, Felix. Claude, Cursor, Copilot, right? These are all different tools that are uh, available for you to use, right? The focus for today's class is GitHub Copilot. Okay. So now that we have started and we have installed the VS Code, now that we are covering other parts of the uh, webinar, those of you who have not installed it, I would suggest to download the VS Code directly from the link that I've shared and create a GitHub profile if you don't have one. If you have it, just install GitHub Copilot on VS Code and sign in. in the meanwhile, right? Now, so Benutzer, here we are focusing on the coding tools specifically, those who help you write codes for you, right? Uh, we are not focusing on all the AI tools. There are AI tools that can do n number of things for you. We are talking about the tools which software developers can use in their day-to-day work, right? So these are coding tools or LLM based coding tools that we are focusing on. Does it work if you already have a code? Yes, this does work. If you have a code, you can debug that as well, right? For an example, uh, uh, if you want to debug something, now I don't want to run this for this, but I already have a code written. But if I want to debug something, I can give this to the agent as well, or I can ask it to fix it here, right? So it works on an existing code file as well. So I can, this is an existing code file. So I can write another function to calculate factorial of a number. So this is a debugging exercise or a enhancement that I'm doing. A debugging, I can do it. Say I removed it, so I can ask it to fix the error, fix the syntax error, right? So it will fix it, right? So it fixed it, and it told me that this is where the error is. Now I can accept it or either reject it. So if I accept it, see, it fixed it already. So debugging also, you can do it in the existing file as well, and you can write it something from scratch. With the rise of AI assisted tool, is memorizing syntax and coding patterns still important? Now it depends on the job profile, Mohammed. Like, it's not exactly a one answer for all the profiles, right? There are still companies who don't allow people to use LLMs or AI tools in their organizations. Those who don't allow it, you still need to memorize syntax and still write from scratch. uh, for still entry level roles, the expectation is that they should understand the syntax and write it, right? Because if you don't know what is the right syntax, you will not be able to debug it, right? So it depends on the role to role and profile to profile and organization to organization. uh, as always, it is always recommended that you should know what exactly the right syntax and right way is. It is just helping you reduce your effort, right? If you don't know what is right and wrong, it can go terribly wrong, and make it difficult for you to debug it once the code base becomes very large. This is Python base that we're doing it on VS Code, and we wrote a Python notebook, right? So now, how do we make sure that whatever we are giving to the AI tool is actually making sense or not, right? So a single best difference between a developer who gets 10x value from Copilot and the one who thinks it's autocomplete is the way they write prompts, right? Think of it like this. Copilot is brilliant, but literal. Vague prompt will give you vague code, and precise prompt will give you precise code, right? So the best way to write your code is add context, give the action, add all the constraints, and give the output format, right? If a confused junior developer would be lost by your comment, the co-pilot will also be lost, right? So you have to make sure that the instructions that you give actually make sense or not. And let's look at it from the implementation perspective as well, right? Let me create a prompt here. Say I write, let me use the agent mode for this. Say process users, and I want to just give me a second. So I want to process users def process data, and this is my prompt for an example. There are a lot of pop-ups coming from Zoom, which actually is making things difficult for me. But this is the prompt that I gave, right? This is the agent mode now that I'm using, right? The prompt that I gave is basically asking it to process users. Now let's see what exactly it does. See, it's a very vague prompt that I gave, and it is now not able to understand anything. See, what should process users do? Validate, filter, transform, summarize, or something else. Now, I will add that it takes a list of user dict with name and email keys, validates the email format using regex, and returns only valid users as filtered list, right? So now I am giving what exactly I wanted to do, right? So the I've added the context, I've given it the action, I've added all the constraints and the output format as well, right? Now let's see what this does. See, it created the complete code for me, right? And here I can choose whether to keep this code or modify it. So I will keep it for an example, and it is processing everything. It accepts a list, right? And it is validating it using regex and returning the final output. So this is how you can actually run the code. Let me just run it. The Python test.py. Let's see. See, it is returning the list of valid users back. Right. So this is how I am now getting the entire things done by adding the details, proper details that are needed for getting things done, right? And that is what context, action, constraints, and format means. If you give a vague prompt, you see how the agent was also not able to understand. So Zafar, we will be adding test cases at the end. We will be covering it. So the next one, we've covered the example of good and bad prompts, right? I wrote this, I covered it, and I showed it to you while you not, when you don't give the good prompt, what happens exactly, and it does not give us the kind of results that we expect, right? So this is the importance of making sure that whatever you're giving actually is making sense, right? And that is what I meant when I said that if your comment is not making sense to a junior developer, the LLM tool will also not be able to understand what to do with that comment, right? So make sure you write proper, precise prompt, and it gives the result that we are expecting. right? So before we move on to the demo, let me again pop up a poll for you. Okay, so I have a poll for you. Can you please try giving your answers for this poll? Personally, for me, all four are extremely tedious, right? It makes difficult for you to get things done. But which one? Debugging legacy code. Okay. Like writing documentation readmes, very much, it's difficult. Unit test cases, it is very boring, to be honest, writing them, making sure that they execute and give us the results, covering all the test cases, right? So I see debugging the legacy code is something that is fairly difficult for most of the people, right? Around 36% of you are saying that it is a challenge, right? Followed by documentation and then setting up project boilerplate and configurations, right? So okay, we will cover this then in two formats. I will tell you how you can debug the legacy code, and we are anyway going to cover the unit test documentation and setting a boilerplate as well. So legacy code, because it has the maximum votes, so we will cover that as well, right, in today's session. So this is what the results look like. Let's move on to the demo itself. Okay, so I have already created a version which is a legacy code, right? We can consider this as a legacy code and we can try to debug this. And in addition to this, I will be creating another version as well to talk about. I want to create a new folder here, new folder, book tracker one, right? So I'll create, this is the legacy code that we will use, right? And this is the new one that we will be creating from scratch, right? So let's focus on creating a new one, and then we will also debug the legacy code as well, right? So I've moved to the new folder, right? In the interest of time, I am sharing the prompt that I will be giving to the agent, right? I'm going to do it in two ways. One is by using the agent to do it, right? We'll do it using the agentic version, and then we will do it using the inline version as well. We'll create one file using the inline version, right? We'll see both the files one by one. So let me just create a new session and paste this. So I want to build a personal book tracker API using FastAPI and SQLite. Now I am specifying to create a project structure, right? Including main.py, a database.py for SQL alchemy setup, and a models.py for book schema. The book should have ID, author, status, and rating. So this is the prompt that I am giving, and I am asking it to create a personal book tracker. And I want to create an API for this, right? Using FastAPI. So I'm using the agent version, Copilot, GitHub Copilot agent version. Let's see what it does. Oh, so it is actually looking at a book tracker. I don't want it to look into book tracker. Let me just stop it. Do not check the files in book tracker. Use book tracker 1 for creating this project. Let's see if it listens to me. So you can see here, see it has started creating those files. Database.py, models.py, main.py, right? So the option which was fourth option in the poll, wherein creating initial project configurations and the boilerplate codes, is something that our agent is already doing it, right? And it has shared it with us that what all files it has created. So you can see it has created database.py. If you want to look at it, just click on it and you will see this is the file. Oh, this actually, now what has happened is the Zoom pop-ups that are coming in actually led to this. Create the files again as they got deleted. Now because of the Zoom pop-ups, actually the code was not saved. So I asked it to create it again. Now when you're doing it, you can also look at it and you'll see these will also get updated. See, now I've used 42% of chat messages and 6% of inline suggestions. So the more you use, you will have to keep a track of these things as well, right? So I have 5 files. See, it has created a database. So I asked it to use SQL Alchemy. So it's using SQL Alchemy. It has created a database here. I can keep it. If I look at main.py, see, it has created a main.py for me. I can use this as well, right? It's running. So it's created a class. This is for creating a book, updating a book. Then this is for creating a API, fast API. It's calling the fast API and getting the books, getting one book and updating a book. So it's getting all of those things, delete book, get books by status. So it has done all of those things, and I will keep this as well, right? Now this is the requirements.txt file. I'll keep this as well for now. And it has also created a readme file. See, this has all the readme function as well, right? So I'll keep the readme, and this is models.py, which is storing the book details. So I'll keep this as well, right? Now that I have have the file. Let me run this. See, I'm doing it for the first time. So. Those who have used FastAPI before, see, it said that my application is running on 127.0.0.1 and 8000. 8000 is the port number. 127.0.0.1 is the localhost IP address, right? So I can either use this or I can use localhost directly, right? Both of those should work. See, personal book tracker API is running. And if I pass /docs, I will get the same page. So with just one clear prompt, it has created a proper application for me, which is an API, which let's see if it is working or not. Let me create a book here, right? So I can just try it out. Say, let's give me a title. Let's give a title book 1, author 1, status to read, rating is, say for an example, 4. Let me save this. Now, if I get the books and try it out, if I execute it, see, I just created a book and it is returning. So the code, I did not write even a single line of code. I just gave it an instruction. Using the instruction, it completed the complete application and gave me what exactly I needed, right? So it is as simple, and this is the agent mode that we used, right? Now I want to create a Streamlit application on top of it, right? Which is where I'm going to use the inline coding feature, right? The prompt I've just shared with, it's here. Just above your message is my prompt, right? So the agent mode actually created things for me, and I now have at least the boilerplate and the basic code that I needed, right? Now, let me create a new file here called app.py, right? Now, I will use the inline version wherein I will generate the code one by one. So, create a Streamlit app to track using SQL alchemy. Streamlit will be used and FastAPI for backend, right? To update statuses, right? So let's start, and it has now started giving me suggestions as well. From typing import list, let's move to the next line. Now let's start creating the Streamlit application. So we are doing it. Now here, I think it's not going in the right direction, right? So I will tell import Streamlit as st, right? Now the inline suggestions were not actually coming out to be as good. So I started writing the initial one, right? That I want to import Streamlit first. Now the API URL is going to be localhost 8000, the one that we are using, right? And now I'm defining a function get books, which calls the API and gets the name of the books, right? Similarly, I will have a function called add books, which is adding the book, right? So I'm now creating the line of code one by one, and I will now create a Streamlit application, right? Now I'll take a quick pause just to understand if all of you are with me so far, if you have any questions. We've just tried the agentic mode that did everything for me. Now we are writing this in inline mode, wherein we are typing one line and asking the Copilot to complete it for us. So are you all with me so far? This exactly is vibe coding, Raj. This is how you vibe code. Perfect. So Darshan, you're sending it on a private chat. It's not good for production. See, this is giving you a initial code, right? All the testing, all the guardrails that have to be put, either you write it clearly in the prompt, or you make sure that these things are implemented properly. Don't take the code which LLM has written directly to production. We have seen cases where a lot of founders who are not technical took, the help of GitHub Copilot, Claude Code, generated an application, and using the application, they just, hosted it, and eventually they lost a lot of money because of that, because proper checks were not implemented, right? So before taking anything to production, make sure you write all the test cases properly, and make sure that you test everything from the security aspect as well, right? I'll check this session towards the end of the session, right? Uh, I'll have a look at it, what you've sent. And a suggestion, please use the private chat instead of uh, the normal one, or the private one, because it becomes difficult for me. So Dhanadev, see, how do you switch between agentic mode and the normal mode? Basically, if you start writing it in the notebook, in the code file, this is the inline version that you're using. And if you write it here, this is more of a agentic version, right? This is where the agentic autonomous agent takes over. Your code completes everything from end to end. And here you get the implementation from inline version. That's the only difference. That's how you switch. No different way of doing it. Both things can work in parallel as well. How can we manage the quality of the code? The quality of the code can be managed by making sure that you write the prompt with proper context, give the proper constraints, all the guardrails, make sure the output schema is defined properly, the input is defined properly. So you have to make sure that whatever you want the agent to do is properly, precisely written in the prompt. That's how you do it. And the second way is, whenever the agent writes a code, it asks you to accept it. If you think it's not up to the mark, tell the agent to rework on it. Say for an example, when we started with this application, I already have a similar application in book tracker, a different folder. It started reading from there and said that I have everything there, I don't need to create anything. To which I then asked it to do it in a different folder and create a different application here, and it did it, right? So that's how you make sure that it's not going in the wrong direction. Even in the inline version, you saw it started importing FastAPI, all the models and all of those things, databases. We didn't want it, right? We want to use FastAPI here. So I gave it the initial import that I want to do it on Streamlit, and basis that it then started writing the other code, right? So that's how you control things. If token is finished, see, we need to take care of this thing. As of now, it's a free version that we are using, so we don't have any control over this thing. If token get finished, either go to a premium version. As of now, GitHub Copilot is doing some enhancements, so no premium version is available. But you have to make sure that whatever code that you're writing, keep checking the messages, the usage from time to time, because that will help you understand how many tokens you have left, right? Uh, if token is finished, take a premium version. No other way if you're heavily dependent on it. So Felix, for security, there are different things that you'll have to do. You'll have to write test cases properly, right? You have to make sure that test cases are written properly, and you are able to check all of those things, right? The second thing is you have to have those guardrails and checks, like normal uh, checks are there, that you do the development in dev mode, then move to QA, do all the testing UAT there, and then move to production. So all of the steps remain the same. The only thing is the code which the developer was writing will now be written by an agent, right? But the security testing, the guardrail testing, the normal test cases, the QA role will still be there. So we are not bypassing anything. We are just making our monotonous job a little more easier, right? That's the only thing. Okay, so now we have updated the book edition, added a book, we got the books. Okay, now I just asked it to write the main part of the book, right? Now see, it has written main and created a Streamlit app, right? This is an app that's there. Now if I keep it, I have the main version which I wrote step by step instead of doing it all agentic. So now I have the Streamlit app as well, right? I need two terminals now. One for running the fast API, and the other one to run the Streamlit application. So for those of you who are hearing Streamlit for the first time, for the sake of simplicity, it's just a UI application that helps you just visualize some of the things, right? So we are just running Streamlit application to make sure that things run. We can have a UI version as well for our application, right? Let me just see if this is working fine. Execute this. This is working fine. Let me run the Streamlit version as well. All right. So Streamlit run app.py. So this one is running on 8501. And you can see Let's debug why this is not running. So it got stopped. Why did it get stopped? Okay. So if you look at it, see, now I have a book tracker, just a UI, which gets the list of the books, book 1, book 2, right? If I add a new book, say book 2, the author name is author 2. If I add it, let's see, it says book added successfully, and it is getting the book as well, right? Now let us see in this as well if it has added it. See, in the database as well, it got added, right? So we just created a Streamlit application using the inline tool that gets the books and also helps us add a new book to it, right? So we just created a UI version, and here we are just getting add a new book, right? And this is the list of books that it is getting, right? So very basic Streamlit application we created. So we've created the application, right? We ran all of those things from scratch, right? And if you look at it, this is how the application is running. We took hardly 20 minutes to complete everything end to end, right? So this is how you can simply create an application. We're going to enhance this. We are going to go to readme to, say I'm going to go to this, add the details related to Streamlit and the readme file. So I can enhance the readme as well, right? So I already had a version of it. Now I had asked it to enhance it for me, right? So how to handle when the data is huge? So Gautami, we are not doing anything with the data here, right? We are just writing the code here. API load testing, performance testing, all of those depend on where exactly the API is hosted and how exactly you are deploying it, right? So the testing, performance test, load test, all of those steps will still remain there. We are just writing the code for creating that API, right? If the data is huge, you will have to deploy it on a bigger machine, right? That's a deployment thing. And load testing, performance testing will anyway be done. So Vraj, as of now, Copilot does not have the capability to add the images directly here, right? You can open the file. If you have the image in README, you can ask it to read it, right? But other than that, if you want to create directly from this, then you will have to add your image in the code base, ask it to read it from the image, whatever the instructions are, and do it. So you can do it that way as well. Yes, Michael. So the endpoint that you have created is the same endpoint that we normally create using code. So all the testing using Postman and other things is still, it will work the same way. Even in the Streamlit, if you see at the back end, it is making a post call, get call only to get all the details. So you can use everything. So, Vanaja, you can look at the extensions. Just, Google it, GitHub Copilot. You'll see the results here. This is the extensions in VS Code. In general, if you press Control Shift X, you'll get GitHub extensions. Write GitHub Copilot here. You will get an option. Install the first one, right? The versioning is already managed by the GitHub only, right? The extension versioning, all of those are managed by them. Whatever version comes here, you can install it and it will work. So I have used Claude Code a lot many times, right? That is what I use generally for my day-to-day, code debugging and things like that. I don't generally code that much at this level, but if I have to, look at somebody's repo, if I want to understand what exactly is there in that repo, I use Claude Code for it. I find it to be a little more, a little better compared to GitHub Copilot, but I think Copilot also does the job for us. I'm a little more biased towards Claude, Braj, if that answers your question. Right? Okay. So we have main.py, we've written this, we have an app running. We updated the README as well. If you see here, there's an optional Streamlit front end. If you want to build a simply install Streamlit, run app.py. So it has added the instructions for this. And you can modify the README as well accordingly. Right? Now, this is done. Uh, any question related to the agent mode, the inline mode that we have done? I'll be now moving to the legacy code debugging, the book tracker one that I've created before. But what I've done so far, is it all good? Perfect. So now let's now move to the legacy code, right? We already have a folder here. Suppose I want to see how. Yes, Neha, you raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Yeah, hi, Sneha this side. So my question is like for the terminal server up and re-execute, is it done by the agent itself or is it we are manually entering the command to run our server and execute every time we change something?
So yeah, so it can happen both ways. You can tell your agent as well to run it for you. It will ask for permissions to run it on the command prompt. You just need to accept it. It will run it for you. For the demo part, I have run this manually. So it can happen both ways.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Right? Yes, Kamal, you can debug any code, right? Just go to that folder, ask it to debug it for you. Say, for an example, I'm just stopping it here. This was the Streamlit application that we were running. Okay, so I'll go to the first code base, which is a legacy code base, right? Let me close these files now. Let me see. I'll close this one as well so that it doesn't get confused, right? So I have the terminals saved here. Let me create a new one. Let me see if I have credits left. I have, right? So check the folder in book check tracker and summarize the code for me and give and explain the steps needed for running this code, right? So say I have a already present code file. So code folder or a repo already present. So now I am asking it to examine this first, right? Before I start debugging it, I will ask it to first examine it and help me understand what exactly is in this folder, right? So see, it gave me a summary that book tracker is a personal book collection management system with two components, backend, front end, right? And a database, right? So key components are main.py. See, it has generated such a great summary that main API, main.py is used for FastAPI. Models uses SQL alchemy model for book status to read reading completed, right? Database is SQLite database setup and session management, and app.py is Streamlit UI to add, view, filter, update books, right? So features is create, read, update, delete books, track reading status, rate the books, right? Filter books by status and rating, and interactive API docs are available here. Now it gave me the running steps as well, that you can create a Python environment, run the requirements.txt, start the main server, fast API, and use the application. Let's now try and do this. Let me run main.py, right? And let me also run streamlit run.py, right? Let's see what's there in these applications, right? So I created this. Yesterday itself, I think 2-3 days back. So you will get the recording, Rahul, Kenny, for this session, like Dipali said, right? So this is the application which is present in a different folder, right? The Streamlit that we just created was relatively simpler. I created a much comprehensive Streamlit before. So if you look at it, see, we had these application, it has a different scores altogether, and this is much more comprehensive. Now, if I want to debug this, right, it's a fairly complex code that I've got. Now, let's do this inline. For an example, let me go to app.py and I want to, let me purposely introduce a error here. Example, this is the one, right? Now, when I run this, it should give me an error. Which function did I introduce an error? Get books. Okay. Let's go back. Okay, this essentially is not an error. Let me create a syntax error here, right? This is an error that I introduced purposely, and I see this is the error that I'm getting, right? I can simply copy this, go to my Streamlit, just type when I run Streamlit app.py, I get the following error, right? If I add this, Let's see whether it is able to understand what is the reason for this error. See, it fixed it for me and told me the issue was fixed on line 56, where all book was missing the closing code and parenthesis. I've corrected it to this. You can now run without any syntax error. If I keep this and go back to the application, let me close this. Let me refresh it. And you see, now it is running. So even the legacy code that you've got, even the legacy files or project folders that you've got, if you face any issues, any errors, or anything related to them, you can simply go there and fix them by asking the agent to fix a particular folder. Right? Whatever errors you're getting, you can type it there. Or if you know that the error was there, you can just go to this line, type fix error. Now, because of the error, let me, if you go to this line, see it is showing error, just press tab and this will get fixed. You can fix it by this way or this way. So this is how the legacy code can also be summarized. And many a times what happens is that as developers, we have to work on repos that are created by somebody else, right? So you can simply as a first step, you can ask the Copilot to summarize the repo for you, what exactly the repo holds. Post the summary, you can then tell it to fix specific errors or add a new functionality altogether, right? Say in the app.py, add a block to delete the book from DB. Let's see. And this particular lines that you're getting is nothing but the thinking of the agent. See, it added a function to delete a book and added a section as well to delete a book, right? So it reviewed everything, right? This is the thinking. The user wants to add a delete functionality to Streamlit app. I need to first read the current app to see what is there and where should I add. Then it reads the file is incomplete at the end. Now I see the full file. The file ends after update. So this is all thinking that has happened. And it finally added a function and the delete UI section. Let's see whether this is now visible in the UI as well. So if I refresh it, see if it is there. There is a function added to delete a book as well, right? So you can this way enhance the existing legacy codes as well. So those of you who were asking how to work with legacy code, does this make sense to you? Are you all able to now relate to it? How exactly you can work with it? Thanks, Felix. Others? Perfect. Perfect. So we created all of these things, right? Step by step. I did not create, ideally, you should not be giving the full control to the agent, right? We created a fairly basic application wherein I asked it to, write the code for me from scratch, right? Ideally, you should not be doing it, right? You should create files one by one and write those functionality in the files like we did it in app.py, right? Don't give the complete control to your agent, because agent can do a lot many things that you might not want it to do, right? So make sure whatever the agent is doing, you read through the thinking, whether the agent is going in the right direction or not, even if you have given it to the agent, and make sure that you work with the agent and not give it the complete control, right? Your functionality should be controlled by you. It should not be in agent's control, right? So write it step by step. So, Sadia, you can use Claude Code for this or Notebook LM Cursor. You can try with them, right? There are newer versions of uh, GPT Copilot that will be released that should be able to handle this, right? But if it is not able to read this, probably it does not have, the training data, it does not have access to IBM BPM code, which is why it is not able to do it. Try with other AI coding tools like Cursor, Notebook LM, Claude Code. Hopefully, you should be able to do with one of these that I've said, right? So Srikant, as of now, they've paused it. Like if we go to the payment section, right, the pricing section, if you'll see that upgrades are paused, right, because they want to roll out a flexible billing experience. So Pro and Pro Plus are paused as of now. They've not stopped it, right? So once they get, once they start again, you will have all of these plans to subscribe to as well, right? But other tools like Cursor, Copilot, Claude, Notebook LM, they have their pro versions as well. If GitHub doesn't come with this fairly quickly, there will be a lot other competitors who will be able to, give you those things. But always make sure you are checking these limits. They can get exhausted very quickly, especially the agent ones, right? So make sure that you have proper visibility in terms of what exactly you are running on these agent and inline code completions. So Sadia, they are separate tools altogether, right? For Claude Code, you will have to go to Claude Code. You can run it on terminal, right? It has compatibility with VS Code, right? Notebook LM Cursor gives you different interfaces to work with, so you can work with them in your different interfaces, right? You can download Cursor, Notebook LM, and they can also help you with that. And for Claude Code, you'll have to run it on the terminal, or you have an interactive version as well. Ajay, I've not specifically used it with SAP, so not sure how exactly this gets integrated, because there'll be a lot of permissions issue that you'll have to sort that out with SAP. So I think it depends how exactly you are, working with SAP and its code. So will not be able to give you a specific answer for this question, right? Okay, so we created an application. Let's see. We did debug the code as well, right? We wrote a buggy code. We pasted the error that we were getting, right? And we were able to get all of those debugging done properly. Let's talk about the code refactoring and commenting, right? That's the most important part. Write detailed comments for each of the functions in each of the file with details of input and output. Refactor the code. Let's not refactor it for now, but let's ask it to write the comments for us. I think for a developer, this is the most uh, nonsensical task that uh, comes in, writing those comments, making sure that everything is properly documented, right? So creating a README file, we saw how we can update it. We can also ask it to update the comments. See, now it has started updating the comments. And see, in delete book, it has written a proper detailed comment, right? And it will continue to generate it for all the functions. See, it is doing it for every function that exists, right? Let's see how it does this. See, it is changing all the files. So I go to app.py. See, I can see it has updated here, and it will not make any change till the time you do not keep it. So you have to update the code. So you click on keep, and that is when the code gets updated. See, we need to accept all the changes. We can do it all at once, or we can do it one by one, looking at each of the changes. And you'll see here, see, each of these now has a proper code and comments written. So this is how you can refactor and add comments to your code as well. Does this make sense? Now comes the test, right? Whatever we are doing, the developers are expected to write unit test as well, right? So let us now ask it to generate I have asked it to now create test cases for me. I have added the cases. So the cases is something that I am adding. I am just asking it to write the code for me, right? So generate Py test unit cases test for the book tracker API. Cover the following test cases. Add the book, update a book, get all books, delete a book, and add checks if book is being deleted, which is non-existent. So let's see how it does this. So our hiring managers asking developers to still know coding line by line, or they are included. So like I said, Felix, see, at a junior position or at a position where people are just entering the industry, uh, our expectation is to at least that they should understand what exactly they are doing and what should be the syntax line by line. But once you reach at a level, right, at a, say, at a manager level, senior manager level, or at a leadership level, you don't expect people to know 9 by 9. That is where you should at least know that these are the tools that exist which can help you comprehend what's written in the code, right? So it depends on the role, depends on the organization. It's not, hard coded anywhere. So see, it has created a file called testapi.py. Let's look at this file. See, test add book functionality. It's checking if the book gets added up properly. Update book, right? Test get all books, delete book and non-existent. So it is trying to delete a non-existent book and it should return 404. So it has written the code for this, and PyTest is not present in our requirements.txt, right? So we will now ask it to update requirements.txt to add PyTest and also run the test. So this is where I think one of you was asking that can we ask it to run those commands for us instead of we doing it manually. So here you can also ask it to run the test or run any file for you, right? So it is adding requirements.txt. So it will install py test, which is the package that we are using for test, right? Now it will ask us whether it can allow in this session. So I will say yes, do it. So it will install this. At the backend, it is running pip install pytest is equal to 7.4.0. Right? Now it wants to run a server. Let me allow this. Let's see. It is trying to install all the dependencies and then it will run it. So all the terminal commands that we had to run are now getting executed on its own. It has made some changes to testapi.py as well. It has added 2 files here in requirements.txt. Now it is changing the book tracker.database. Okay. So it ran the test for us and it passed giving 8 warnings, right? It covered the test, add a book successfully, update a book, get all books, delete, and also checked for non-existent one, right? And also gave me the steps to run this on my own, right? So that is how you can also ask it to do this thing for you, right? So it wrote all the test cases for me, and basis those test cases, it also ran these test cases and gave me the results that things are working fine. All the test cases are passed, right? So I defined what test cases are to be generated. I defined how it should be doing it, right? I defined the PyTest package also. Then I asked it to document everything, create a README. It did it. And it added the response as well, right? So this way I can edit the entire application to make sure that it gives me a full-fledged repo, right? So I have the database, I have the application, the test written, I have a README here, right? So README has a proper project structure, the installation, running the application, the endpoints, right? What the schema looks like. So it has given me everything that's needed, and it has created a comprehensive application for me now. And I can now run it and see if things are working fine or not, right? Now, moving on, what are the issues that can create, problems for you if you don't do this properly? Obviously, it's the agent doing things for you. Everything is looking great. You're getting things done in fraction of time, right? But what are some of the common mistakes that you should avoid, that you should not do at all, right? So first mistake is blind acceptance. It's the most common mistake, right? The one that in the demo we did, right? We asked the agent to generate it for us. The agent generated everything, and we took everything and just, ran the code. Sometimes you just give a suggestion and it looks right, but that doesn't mean that it will be 100% correct. So make sure that whatever the agent is writing is actually correct and makes sense, right? So as a thumb rule, always read what Copilot gives you, right? Ultimately, whatever code that goes from your end, you are the one who has written it, right? No one is going to accept that it's the agent who has done it for you. So you are the author. So make sure you read before you press the tab to autocomplete things, right? The second mistake that happens a lot of time is the vague prompts, right? We saw that in the demo as well. We gave a very vague prompt, and the agent itself started asking, what exactly do you want me to do, right? Make this better is not a prompt. What exactly you want to improve? You should tell that. Be explicit, right? Uh, Garbage in will give you garbage out, right? So make sure you explicitly tell what exactly you want the agent to do, right? We gave those specific scenarios to agent to complete things for us. Third one is ignoring the context, right? uh, you saw it in the demo. I closed the folder that we created when we started working on the legacy code, right? I moved back to the other folder, right? So Copilot actually uses the files that you open as context. So make sure if you want to work on a different file, just close the other one, right? Copilot should not know about these files. Make sure you tell Copilot that these are the files or folders that you don't or you should not be getting into, right? So use the context properly. Make sure unnecessary files are not open. Copilot will then look at those files and try to take decisions basis those as well, right? Then there's a mistake for trusting the security, right? uh, Always, it's a AI generated code. It might not do all the checks that humans would normally do, right? So always and always review. Can't emphasize more on this. Manually review your code. Make sure all the keys, and this happened with a lot of entrepreneurs who launched their applications with these vibe coded tools, right? And the keys the OpenAI keys for which they were paying were kept out in the open in the code base. People started using their keys and they started getting those bills. So make sure your authentication, password hashing, your tokens, cookies, all of those are properly uh, secure. People are not able to access or look at them easily, right? All of those secure things should remain secure, right? There are things that should remain under the hood. They should remain under the hood. Make sure you manually review them before you move anything out to production, right? Very important. Don't just take the first draft and think that it's the final solution. Iterate over it. Give more scenarios, test more scenarios, right? Ask Copilot to refactor code, simplify things, add logging to it. All of those things are done iteratively, right? And more importantly, use Copilot as a crutch, right? Don't accept anything blindly, right? Don't accept anything which you don't understand. If you think something that Copilot has written is not making sense, or if you are not able to comprehend it, ask it to simplify it, ask it to explain it to you, right? Use Copilot to move faster. Then go back, understand every line, ask it to explain everything, right? The first thing when I started working with a new repo was to ask Copilot to explain what that repo has. That's the most important thing, right? Would AI a bubble and about to burst? Pixel, I don't think it's a bubble, right? It is adding value to our day-to-day work. We saw it in the demo today as well, right? But overuse, over engineering of anything can lead to can lead to a kill, right? So uh, let's not be heavily dependent on these things. Let's make sure that we understand what we are using and is there actually a need for using it, right? So let's not call it a demon. It's meant for helping us simplify things if we use them properly. If we use them blindly, if we commit these mistakes, then it can ruin your application and your career as well, right? So that brings us to the end. I'm open to questions that anyone wants to ask or you may have. Please feel free to ask your questions.
So thank you so much, Abhay sir, for sharing such valuable insights and practical workflow with us today. I hope today's session helped everyone to understand how developers are using AI tools like GitHub Copilot to improve productivity, save development time, and build software more efficiently in today's rapidly evolving tech landscape. Also, the demo and practical workflow made the concept extremely easy to understand and apply in the real world environment. So I would request all the participants for joining. Sorry, I would like really thank you for all the participants for joining us today. We'll share the recording and the PPT and the resources with you shortly over the mail as well as over the WhatsApp community. If anyone has any questions, they can raise their hand. I'll just give them the access to unmute themselves. Also, feedback form is shared over the chat box. Please take a time to fill the feedback form. It will really help us to modify our future sessions and keep coming such informative webinars with you all.
Hi, thank you for the impressive lecture. I just wanted to know what are the courses in your Coursera? There are many courses from your company. I just wanted to know which ones are closer to this lecture. Can you mention them?
Sure, sure. What I'll do is I'll just forward you the course links. in the chat box right away in next few minutes.
Thank you so much.
Any other question? Participants can raise their hand, or chat box is open. You can just ask in the chat box.
I think we covered a lot of questions in the session itself. So
Yes, sir. We can take one last question, which is there in the chat box, and then maybe we can end this today's session.
sure. So what about .NET development? Like Hamza, it's opinion, not sure, what's going to be the future, right? So developers will exist, right? Because code is the base of any application. So the role might change. Like we said, you might not be coding everything from scratch. You'll have helping hands. We had, changes. We've seen changes over the last 20-25 years when, people were coding on, say, notepads, or they were doing it on command prompt, right from scratch, writing all the code by hand. Then we saw those IDs coming in, or then autocomplete, auto suggestion, and now we have those tools. So the role is going to remain. The only thing is that things will evolve with time, and we've seen the evolution, right? So that's what I think, but nobody can predict the future, right? Things are changing at a pace that we have not seen in the past. So Srini, it's VS Code, Visual Studio Code only that we've used. So you can do it in Visual Studio as well. You have the extensions, so you can use that, and you can use it for setting up Copilot there. Visual Studio is Microsoft, Copilot is Microsoft, GitHub is Microsoft. So it's seamless integration across.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, sir, for taking this wonderful session today.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the participants are requested to fill the feedback form. We'll also share the feedback form over mail, and wishing you a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye.